there, my name is Irene, and in this video, we're going to see how we can create easy, simple Revit families that can be used as props or decor to fill out your interior design spaces. Now, I apologize if my energy levels are not as high as usual. I'm a little bit sick. Also, I did take a NyQuil instead of a DayQuil, so this video is going to be a little bit of a race against the clock to see if I can finish the video before the NyQuil kicks in and I have to take a nap. So I apologize for that, but otherwise, let's get to it. All right, so we are going to get started by creating a new family. So we're going to go families, we're going to go new. Now for this trick, what I would recommend is, it doesn't matter if you go imperial or metric, it's irrelevant. But for the family template, I would recommend that you go with generic model. I'm going to be changing the category afterwards just for visibility graphic management. So we're going to start with generic model. Now, I want to be very clear, this technique is not for photorealistic renderings. If you're looking to make photorealistic renderings, this is not going to look that good. This is more if you are doing stylized renderings or just for like a regular elevations and perspectives and you want to like fill in your model a little bit more. So on that case, like it's not going to be super realistic. And the most important thing here is going to be getting a good quality image of the kind of like product or object that you want to use as prop. So for this exercise here, I'm going to do 3 examples. So number 1 is going to be this shirt here, which is going to be kind of like a hanging object, so to speak. Then I also have this set of bottles. I'm only going to be doing 1 of them. And then finally, I also have this watch here. And what you're going to see is that like the technique is very similar with all of them. It's just really changing kind of like the direction that we're modeling it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the shirt. And basically what we want to do here is, first of all, figure out what's the position of this object. So because this is going to be a hanging shirt, I'm going to be modeling it in the front view. Same thing is going to happen with the bottle, but then, for example, for the watch, I'm going to be modeling it from like the top view. So all we need to do is create an extrusion. And this extrusion is going to be just a rectangle. And all you really want is you want to make sure that it's going to be aligned and lock with the bottom. Now, this is not going to be a parametric family. It's not going to change. It's just going to be a single object. So I'm going to use my align tool, this guy over here, and align to the bottom reference plane and lock it so it goes nowhere. Now, for the dimensions, you just want it to be the dimensions of the shirt. Now, a shirt is going to be what, like 30 inches, like 800 millimeters. So let's say, yeah, that I'm actually going to want this rectangle to be a little bit bigger to begin with. You will see why in a second. So I'm just going to stretch it out. That should be good enough for my shirt. So what we're going to do next is we are going to select this extrusion. We're going to go to the 3D view, right click, and you can go zoom to fit. So you can quickly, let me click outside, zoom to fit. There you go. And that's going to get me really close. Now, one thing that is very important is that we want this to be as thin as possible because we're not going to be creating a full realistic geometry. This is going to be kind of like a cutout. So in that sense, it's going to behave very similarly to the way that people and trees behave in the Revit families, which are RPCs. So I want to make this guy really, really thin. The thinner, the better. Let's say we're going to bring it to 5 mil. Okay, so now we're going to go to the front view. We're going to select the geometry, and under materials, I'm going to assign a material. Again, I'm not going to make it parametric because the idea of these families, like I'm not interested about changing them in the project. I just want to place them in my project, and that's it. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to create a new material, which I'm going to rename for like the object that this is going to be. So in this case, this is going to be a shirt in hanger. Okay, and now under appearance, under generic, I'm going to come here and I'm going to assign that image from the t-shirt that I found. If I can find it again, large, there she is. Okay, perfect. Now I could use cutouts for this, like to create kind of like the positive and negative space, but the problem with that technique is that then I would still have kind of like the square of the extrusion. So what we're going to do is a little bit different. So I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to adjust the dimensions. Remember, every time that you bring in an image into Revit, it's going to resize it to 304 by 304 or 12 inches by 12 inches. So I'm going to unlock this here. And let's say that the width of my shirt is going to be like, I don't know, like 700 millimeters. And let's say that the height is going to be 800, maybe 900. Oh, 8,800. There you go. I think it needs to be wider. Let's see, even wider. Wow. Okay. How wide do you need to be? Sure. Let's say that that's fine. Again, I'm not super concerned with like the dimensions right now. And we're going to say apply and we're going to say okay. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go and on the visibility settings on the bottom left, we're going to switch from wireframe to realistic so we can see the material that has been applied with our shirt. There she is. Now, you may be like, ooh, this is bad, like the position is messed up. Don't worry. One of the nice things about working with families is that you can simply, especially with extrusions, you can simply drag the extrusion and that will allow you to kind of like reposition it so you can see. So I basically want to like resize this so I can see only my shirt. Like this is not that relevant because we're going to be getting rid of that square outline. So this is where the magic happens. So basically what I want to do is I want to change the boundary of my extrusion to match the boundary of the shirt. But here's the issue. If you just go and double click on the shape to change the outline, what you're going to see is that the image disappears, which is a problem. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to say yes. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Create tab, and we're going to use model lines to trace this shape. So you want to be as precise as possible. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to speed up the video, and I'm just going to trace the entire shape. And when I'm done, I will continue with the explanation. So I will see you in a bit. All right, so it might not look like you've done anything, but if we switch to wireframe, you're gonna see that we basically trace the outline of the shirt. So that's step one. And again, you want to have as much detail or as little detail as you want with this. Another thing to keep into consideration is that if you have gaps or openings like you have here, you can also draw those. Just keep in mind that you want to follow the same rules that we follow with boundaries, which is that if you want to have an opening within your boundaries, you need to make sure that there are no gaps or overlapping. So basically, you don't want this gap to touch the outer gap and the outer boundary, and you don't want it to leave gaps. So again, this is right now the outline that I have. So now this is where the magic happens, because what I can do now is I can double click on this extrusion, and would you look at that, all of my lines are there, and what I can do is simply use pick lines and pick all of the lines. Now, however many lines you did will determine how tedious this is going to be, but it's pretty fast. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to speed up over the picking up lines process, and I will get back when I'm done with that. So see you in a bit. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have fully followed the outline of the shirt. So now, very important, I'm going to get rid of this square outline because I no longer need it. So now the outline of my extrusion is going to be the shape of the shirt. And then this little secondary boundary is going to be the opening. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to click yes. And voila, look at my super detailed family. Now, what I'm going to do here, just to finish up, I usually like to bring it, I like to bring it to the, oh God, let me use MV. I like to bring it close to like the placement just so I know where it goes. The other thing is that I no longer need those model lines. They were just like for tracing. So I just need my extrusion, and there you have it. So if we go here on 3D, let me switch it to realistic. That shirt looks super good. from the front. If you see it from the back, you're going to see that like the image is not that well aligned, which is why, again, I was saying that this is not a photorealistic method. Basically, you're just getting a 2D image of the family that you're creating. Now, before I bring it into my project, there's a couple more things that I want to do. So number one, I want to change the category of the family. So to do that, I'm going to go on the top left, and I'm going to go to family category and parameters, and I'm going to switch it from generic model to entourage. If you're not aware, entourage is a category of Revit that basically contains anything and everything that is not really part of an architectural or interior design or like engineering proposal, but it's things that can help understand the context of the project. So people, cars, plants, decor, props, stock, like all of that kind of stuff. So I want to make it entourage, so that way when I bring it into my project, if I want to do just like plain construction documentation that doesn't require those props, I can just turn off the category of entourage, and all of this stuff is going to go away. The other thing that I want to do is on the side here on my family properties, I want to make sure that it is checked to always vertical. And also I want to make sure that I check on work plane base. This is going to give me more options when placing this geometry, instead of just being locked to always being on the floor level, so to speak. And then finally, the last thing that I want to do, which is not mandatory, but like it's a quality of life improvement, is that I only really want to use these family in two scenarios. And that is going to be 3D views and elevations. But I don't want to use this in floor plans. Like if I go to a floor plan, this looks really weird. So I don't want to be able to see this family in floor plans, or even side views is going to look a little bit funny. So one thing that you can do is you can select the geometry, and you're going to find this option called visibility settings. So this allows you to tailor in which views something is visible. So if I click here, you're going to see that by default, all families are visible in 3D view, but then you can choose if you want to see them in plan, front, or left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off plan and left, right. I only want to see this in 3D views and front, back. You can also adjust the level of detail, but in this case, I'm going to leave it so it's visible in all of them, and I'm going to click OK. So to finish up, I'm going to save my family. So I'm going to go save as family, and I'm going to call it shirt. And always, I like to share it in Hanger. I like to load things into a project so you can see how it's behaving. So I'm going to open a new project, and then we're going to load the family into it. So give me a sec. All right, so I have a project ready to go to load this shirt in. So we're gonna go load into project, and here we're gonna see our shirt. Now I cannot quite see it because I have place on face to begin with. So basically what's gonna happen here is that depending on what face it's picking, it's gonna determine where it will be placed. So for this, I actually recommend placing it on a 3D view. It's gonna be a little bit easier. So say it's highlighting this face, or I can put it from the floor, or I can put it on this other wall, but it's always gonna remain vertical because I checked on that like vertical option. So what I want to do here is I want to place it based on the on the floor, and I will adjust the height later. I can also place it based on the hanger. Again, that's the freedom of working with place on face. So I'm going to do this, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to my top view so I can kind of like manually align it. So let's say something like that. It should be centered. I can change the height by going here, and this is my level, and then I can offset it from the level. Now I'm not sure how much that is, maybe like 900. Let's try that. Oh, I went too far. Let's say 100, maybe. Nope, 300. Perfect. All right, so there you go. And if I switch to realistic, that's how my shirt looks. Pretty good, huh? So what I want to do now is I want to show you one more example with a different placement. So this shirt is vertical, and I want to show what happens if you have a horizontal object. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my original family. I'm just going to overwrite it because I'm going to save as, so it doesn't matter. So this time I'm going to do the watch. So I'm just going to delete this guy. And this time, because the watch is something that you would have kind of like laying on a surface, what I'm going to do this time is instead of drawing on the front view, I'm going to draw on the floor plan or top view. But otherwise, the process is going to be exactly the same. I'm going to start with an extrusion, and I'm going to create a rectangle that is bigger than what the object would be. I'm going to say yes. For the depth of the object, you want it to be as thin as possible. So again, let's say 5 mil again. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my top view, and I'm going to select this geometry. Oh, I'm going to switch this back to realistic. Yeah, perfect. I'm going to select my geometry. I'm going to go to material and I'm going to create a new material that is going to be watch or hand watch. So I'm going to call it hand watch this time. And I'm going to click here to apply an image, and that image is going to be the hand watch. Again, for the dimensions, it's like however big, also taking into consideration the white surrounding of the image. So I think that in this case, 300 by 300 might actually be too big. Yeah, let's make it actually smaller, maybe like 200 millimeters. I'm not super concerned with precision for this exercise, as you may notice. So I'm gonna go apply, okay. And then again, don't worry if like the placement of the square is not perfect because we're gonna trace it out. So I'm gonna go back here, use my model lines, and same as before, I'm gonna trace out this object. So I will see you when I'm done with that. All right, so I have my outline drawn, and what we're going to do now is exactly the same as we did before. We're going to double click into the family, and we're going to start picking the lines. Now, keep in mind, I made one big circle for the watch, so we are going to have to use split and trim to make sure that our family works correctly. Remember, the boundary has to be a single continuous uninterrupted line, okay? So this one is a little bit more simple, so I don't need to speed up over picking up the lines. Okay, so see, I cannot have this line here, or that line there. So what I can do is use the split tool with key SL, and I'm gonna break it here, break it there, and then break it one more there. So see, I have one segment, another segment, another segment, and I can use the trim tool, which is this guy over here, quick key TR for trim, and then click, 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 click. Remember when you're using trim to always click towards the side of the line that you want to click. Like if I click in here and then I click there, whoops, it kind of like got rid of the wrong side. So always on the side that you want to keep in. There we go. And then you, and then you, and there we go. Oh, sorry. It created an opening. So get rid of the boundary. Perfect. And now we have our little watch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select that extrusion. And again, I like to put it as centered as possible. Let's do it like that. Uh, uh, yeah, that looks pretty good. And we're going to get rid of these model lines. We no longer need them. And in the case of this, I'm going to select the geometry, go to visibility settings, and basically I don't want to see it in elevated views. I only want to see it in top views, and I want to make sure that it is still entourage. And now here's going to be the other difference. So in the case of the shirt, I wanted it to always be vertical because there's never a situation where you have a shirt in a hanger laying. That's really weird. It's always going to be hanging. That's what the hanger is for. But a watch is a little bit different, right? Like you could have a watch over a display table, or you may have it on a vertical display case. So because it's a little bit of a more versatile object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave work plane based on, but I'm going to check off always vertical. And what that is going to do is that basically if we look at it on the like 3D view, these kind of like surface, it is going to be able to be horizontal, it's going to be able to be vertical, it's going to be able to be anything. So see, and I can go file, save as, family, and I'm going to call this guy hand watch. And now I'm going to load it into my project. So I'm going to go load it. And what you're going to see now, let's do it on the 3D view, is that I can either put it on my wall display, for example, or I can also put it on my table display. See? Pretty cool stuff. So again, this is not going to look super hot in a photorealistic render, but it's going to look just good enough if you're just doing like a regular, like stylized 3D view. So for example, if I go here and I place my camera, let's place it pretty close, something like that. And let's bring it in a little bit, and I switch it to realistic, it's gonna look pretty decent, right? So that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, one more thing. So the reason that I put it on the entourage category is so that way, let's say that I'm doing construction documents and I don't want to show all of these like knickknacks. I can just go VG for visibility graphics, and I can go E, find the entourage category and turn it off. And when I go apply OK, it's going to make all of these things disappear without affecting the rest of my model and without me having to go and selecting each and every one of them and hiding them. So it's a little bit handy. Also, because of the visibility settings that I gave it, you're going to see that, for example, if I go to the floor plan, you cannot see the shirt. But for example, if I go to the, let's say to the ceiling plan, oh no, not the ceiling plan, maybe a little too or what, there you go. You can see that watch in the floor plan because I left it, so I wanted to be able to see it in the floor plans. But if I go and I draw, for example, let's draw a section here, flip it, and I open these elements here, there we go, you are going to see that the shirt is also not visible. So like this ability to see it in floor plans and elevations is this one here, visibility settings, and the other one is the making it the entourage category. Okay, so I hope you find the video helpful. If you have any comments, feel free to add them. I was gonna draw the bottle, but the NyQuil is kicking in, so I'm gonna go take a little nap. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for sticking through, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.